Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to a special bonus live stream here on NoDQ's YouTube channel, as well as Facebook and Twitter. This is the NoDQ Open Mic. Now, I had been thinking about a concept like this, and I was pretty much going to do it, but then what happened after my SmackDown stream, or should I say at the end of the stream before I was finished, what happened was I was recapping SmackDown. It was my 17th consecutive live stream on the NoDQ YouTube channel, and I was going to be done for the weekend, taking a little break. And what happened was YouTube crashed. My app crashed, and I was not able to access the stream again. I went back on the app, no way to resume the stream. The only thing I could do was just let it stop on its own. I did not even have the option to stop it. I pretty much did the entire SmackDown review, but I did not get a chance to wrap things up and give my letter grade for SmackDown. Right off the bat here, for those of you wondering, my letter grade for SmackDown was a C+. I thought it was a lackluster go-home show, or not go-home, but post-WrestleMania show. I just thought that it lacked surprises. It lacked any kind of big wow moment that you would expect from a post-WrestleMania edition of SmackDown. And as Greg says in the chat room, shout out to Greg, by the way, last night was a screwy finish. LOL, bad creative booked last night. I agree with that, Greg. And like I said, all of the replays of the Cesaro UFO to Rollins, I felt was not really necessary, and it kind of gave away the end. So yeah, C+. I'm back here one more night as a bonus, night 18 or night 17 part 2, as Daniel points out in the chat room. And there was a super chat from Shanti last night. I'll get to that real quick. He says, was there any big surprise at last year's post-WrestleMania show or shows? I do not remember, which means probably not. Anybody in the chat room, if you do remember something from last year's post-WrestleMania Raw or SmackDown, let me know. I believe Bianca Belair officially debuted on the Raw roster, but that's literally the only thing I remember. I guess Big Show challenging Drew McIntyre right after McIntyre defeated Brock Lesnar, if you want to count that as a surprise. But yeah, last year was the pandemic, and yeah, we're still in a pandemic, but I was hoping WWE would have booked something for SmackDown to give us that wow factor or some kind of cliffhanger, so we would be like, we really need to tune into next week's show. All right, so the concept for tonight, it's open mic. And I invited a bunch of people from the NoDQ panel to join me tonight with any hot takes that they might have. Virtue, Mr. Tito, Big G, Noah Foster, pretty much everyone in the NoDQ team got an invite. Stefan's here in the chat room. He got one as well. They might be tuning in. They might be joining the chat. That's entirely up to them. But it is open mic. So anybody from Team NoDQ that has a hot take, they want to talk about something, they can join the chat, join the live feed. The one and only Caleb Jacobs sent in a $5.14 super chat. Thank you, Caleb. He says, night 18, what was the point of Samoa Joe being released? Impact Bound or AEW or New Japan? So the first thing I am going to discuss here on Open Mic Night, I will be talking about the releases and where I think everybody is going to go. To answer Caleb Jacobs, as far as Samoa Joe's release goes, the word is that Samoa Joe wanted to wrestle again and WWE would not clear him. Really makes no sense why WWE would not keep Joe. They could have used him for announcing. He was doing a great job, one of the best announcers in WWE. Even the NXT shows this past week, Stand and Deliver, Samoa Joe did these sit-down interviews, and I thought he was great. I thought he did a tremendous job with those sit-down interviews. Stefan disagrees, though. Stefan says every single release was justified, even Samoa Joe. And just going off topic here for a second, Psycho Jet Black with $2 says, your favorite Bam Bam Bigelow matches and moments. Probably my favorite Bam Bam Bigelow match would be against Bret Hart from the 1993 King of the Ring. That King of the Ring was a great show. Great way to start off that pay-per-view concept. And I thought that Bret Hart and Bam Bam Bigelow worked really well together, although Bret could pretty much work well with anybody. But Bam Bam had a lot of memorable moments, later joining Ted DiBiase's corporation. But yeah, I would have to say his best match was that King of the Ring match with Bret Hart. What do you guys think? Leave a comment on YouTube and let me know your favorite Bam Bam Bigelow match. And Caleb Jacobs off topic here says, definitely watch Willy's Wonderland. That's a movie with Nicolas Cage. I looked it up. Looks interesting. I was always creeped out by animatronics at Chuck E. Cheese. So I'm curious to see what they did with that movie. Apparently it's a new release. I'll have to check it out at some point. Stefan, I sent the link in the NoDQ group. If you go in there, you'll find it. You can jump right in and join the video and give your thoughts. So let's talk about the releases real quick. Samoa Joe, I think he'll end up in AEW. I would be shocked if he doesn't. Samoa Joe has a lot of friends there. You have Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, his old TNA buddies, and they worked in PWG together for several years, and they were all in Ring of Honor at one point. I just think Joe would be a great asset to AEW. Samoa Joe versus Kenny Omega. That's a hell of a match. If Joe can get cleared to wrestle again, I think it's very likely he ends up in AEW. Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, the IIconics, a bit surprised, even though WWE was not doing much with Peyton Royce. Billie Kay was at WrestleMania. I think they'll reunite as the IIconics. I think that that's a pretty safe bet. And AEW seems like a likely place because Peyton's husband, Sean Spears, is there. Seems like an obvious direction for them going to AEW and reforming their team. Richard Hopkins with a $2 super chat says, support NoDQ or sit on it and rotate skank, whatever that means. But thank you for that, Richard. I appreciate the super chat, even though I'm not sure what that slang term means. As far as Mickie James goes, I think she has a lot of options. I would not be surprised to see Mickie James go to NWA because her husband, Nick Aldis, is there. If I was going to make a prediction with Mickie James, I think NWA most likely, again, maybe AEW, but with Nick Aldis in NWA, I think that that's probably the most likely place for her. And Impact, I think, is also an option. Chelsea Green, I'm torn on this one. I could see her going to AEW. She has friends there, but she has her roots in Impact Wrestling, and it would not shock me if she went back to Impact. I think either one is a likely possibility. Maybe both, who knows? Maybe she'll do what Matt Cardona, her boyfriend, did and jump between the two promotions and just test the waters and see where she fits in. Tucker is interesting. He never really got a shot. Once Otis and Tucker, Heavy Machinery, broke up, there was nothing going on, nothing for him to do, no direction, absolutely nothing. So as far as Tucker goes, I think Tucker could end up anywhere. I think we will see him somewhere, probably Impact Wrestling of the promotions, maybe Ring of Honor. I could see one of those two. AEW, maybe not as likely. Kalisto, I could see going to Mexico. Again, maybe AEW, Ring of Honor, Impact. I think there's a decent possibility for all of them. I don't think there's any clear direction on that one. And we do have Stephen Osborne in the waiting room. So we'll have Stephen on here in a few minutes. Let me wrap up my thoughts on the releases. Mojo Raleigh, who was announced a little bit later than everyone else. I could see him going to Impact. I don't think we're going to see him in AEW, but I could see him coming to Impact, kind of like a Heath Slater, a guy who was lower on the totem pole, but somebody who could be a big fish in a small pond. Mojo Raleigh, I think, is likely going to Impact. Bo Dallas, I think, is probably done with wrestling. It's been reported that he has been working in real estate and he's been preparing for life after wrestling. So, yeah, I think Bo Dallas will probably just fade away. Maybe one day we see him again, but I sense like he had his run and that's pretty much it. Wesley Blake, I could see him possibly in Impact Wrestling. Again, I don't think AEW will pick him up. So I think Impact, maybe Ring of Honor will be the most likely destinations for Wesley Blake. Now, to Stefan and anybody else in the No DQ panel that might be coming in for Open Mic Night, you guys can talk about the releases or anything else you have on your mind. This is Open Mic Night, so it's whatever's on your mind, whatever you want to discuss. So without further ado, let's bring him on now. I'm not sure if he can hear me right now. He's been waiting patiently in the waiting room. We have Stephen Osborne. Stephen, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. Yeah, we can hear you in the waiting room. It's actually quite better quality than the YouTube feed, so it's not so bad. I just don't get the chat room.
That's okay. I'll let you know if they say anything like they call you out or say you're an idiot. I'll let you know.
Well, I mean, I know it's probably an unpopular opinion, but I'm all for these releases. At first, it's always kind of sad. Somebody's losing their job. But you're talking about people that are so famous. I mean, even if it's just for, 5 or 10 million people in the country, they're pretty famous. They'll be all right. At the very least, they can, sell signatures and they can sell Venmo time and things like that. I think they're all justified. Even Samoa Joe, you got to think Samoa Joe came in on a performing contract, and he's probably still on a performer's contract, and he's not getting in the ring. And it's always a weird dynamic when you have somebody on the announcer's table that is currently still a wrestler, even if they're injured, because there's always that. Well, when are they gonna do something? Somebody's in the ring in a storyline where somebody who's not a wrestler is getting harassed or something like that. They take exception to things that other wrestlers do, but they never get out from behind the commentary desk. Why? It doesn't make any sense. Like, I think it was like 3 or 4 months ago, who was it that was picking on Joe? And we thought maybe he'd, end up in a match with him, and it just never happened.
Yeah, I seem to remember it, but I'm not sure who it was off the top of my head. Maybe somebody.
It might have been Seth Rollins. I think it was Seth Rollins.
Maybe, but I kind of remember what you're talking about. I just don't remember. Well, Psycho Jet Black says it was Seth Rollins, so there you go.
Well, this is one of those topics, these releases, where everybody always talks out of both sides of their mouth. During the year when they're not releasing anybody, or especially when somebody asks for their release and they won't do it. People complain that WWE is just collecting all of these wrestlers so that other companies can't have them, and then not using them or using them really inappropriately or improperly. And then they release them, one of these mass releases, and then people, they throw their arms up. They're like, oh, what are they doing? Oh, this is terrible. It's like, no, it is not terrible. It's part of the business. And most of these people are just, other than maybe Billie Kay, because they were using her. And I was really hoping that they'd give her more of a creative freedom to be funny, because that woman can be hilarious. That
Yeah, for
entrance
sure.
she had with Carmella at WrestleMania, where she was trying her best to be sexy, was just awesome. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that. It was the best part of that whole match for me, other than the Dana Brooks titty coming out. Other than that, but yeah, they're all either not being used, being left back in catering, or being used improperly. Let them go. Let them
Yeah.
go elsewhere, and it's not the end of the world. It's not even necessarily the end of their WWE career. Drew McIntyre got released, and he went back to the Indies, and he kept grinding, and he kept
Right.
working on his physique and working on his character, and then he came back, and look at him now. He's in the fucking main event.
Yeah, I mean, very well said. The thing is, yeah, it sucks to lose your job, but at the same time, one good thing about wrestling is there's a lot of opportunities right now, whether it's AEW or Impact or New Japan or Ring of Honor. And as the pandemic starts to wind down, more opportunities will open up for these guys and gals, and they should be able to land on their feet okay if wrestling's even something they want to do. As I mentioned, Bo Dallas might be moving on to other things with his life. And like you said, it's just part of business. If you go back to 10 years ago, they were cutting people on a regular basis. And it was only the last few years when AEW got started, we started seeing WWE hoarding talent and just signing everybody and keeping them locked into these 5-year contracts or whatever. And we have Virtue arguing in the chat room. Let me get to a few of these super chats. Caleb Jacobs with a $2 super chat says, Seth Rollins will always remember Joe's Raw debut. Do you remember Joe's Raw debut?
No. Don't ask me about having a good memory, because my memory is awful. But
I think he attacked Roman Reigns or did something with Roman his first night in, to my recollection. But yeah, I don't remember exactly what happened, to be totally honest with you guys.
I remember more of Samoa Joe in in NXT than I do WWE. But I think that's because but right before we went up to Chicago a few years ago for Money in the Bank, I spent a couple of days catching up on NXT so I could do the NXT review and be up on everything. And that's when I fell in love with NXT. That's when I asked you and started doing the NXT reviews with Jerry. Samoa Joe is just awesome in NXT, and then he gets to WWE, and they use him appropriately a few times. They used him okay a few times, but for the most part, they just wasted Joe. Like what's the point of having a guy like Joe if you don't use him right?
Yeah, and I mean the injuries definitely stalled whatever momentum he had. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. Says Stefan, who had the best titties, or who had the best titties? I think he's saying this in present. Who has the best titties in WWE right now? Well, I'm not answering that, but you can go ahead.
Who's got the best boobs in the business? Right now, I'm in love with Scarlett from NXT. She probably doesn't have the best boobs, but you know what? They're probably going to be the best to me if I ever got to see them. Dana Brooks are nice. I mean, from what we saw, they were pretty nice. I don't know. It's always weird because they change their outfit styles so often, especially the women, because it seems like they're never allowed to come out with the same ring gear more than once. And you can tell some of them have smaller boobs than it appears that they have based off their new outfits. Maybe Alexa Bliss, because we all know she got hers enhanced. I've certainly seen, I'm sure most of us have seen Charlotte Flair's. They're okay. I don't know. I don't want to go too much into that question.
Yeah,
of course, it is right up my alley as the rated R reviewer, but
right. I think this question would have been more appropriate to answer in like 1999.
Yeah, it has very well. That would have been Sable, easy.
Well,
you don't even need that question. That's Sable, totally.
Well, yeah, you remember that? You remember that segment with Jerry Lawler,
where she came out wearing the handprints over her. Yeah, everybody remembers that.
Yeah,
I was going through
posters
puberty at that point. Everybody remembers that.
Yeah. We have a $5 super chat here from Dwayne Atkinson. Says, Only thing I can't understand is why have them on WrestleMania just to be released days later. Yeah, Billie Kay is definitely surprising in that sense. And Joe was there doing commentary in the poncho with Michael Cole. And I was telling this to everybody on the No DQ review. I was just surprised that Joe got cut. And then we heard the news about AEW doing like 1.2 million viewers. And I think that if WWE knew AEW was going to do that well, they would not have cut Joe just because they don't want AEW getting any more momentum. But Virtue's like, that's the NXT audience they got, and they're not going to be able to sustain that number. I mean, what do you think about that with AEW's numbers?
Well, I watched the first few weeks of AEW. I'm not really up on them, but I think their numbers are actually probably going to hold fairly steady around 1 million. Because they were already getting up there. And now that they don't have to compete with NXT, I've even contemplated starting watching the show now that there's an extra free night to watch. And I just don't. But I wasn't one of the numbers that would have watched them anyway. So
right. Sam sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Sam. He says, Samoa Joe attacked Seth Rollins before Seth Rollins had a match with Triple H at WrestleMania in Dallas, Texas. Okay, because Seth Rollins was a babyface back then. I just remember Reigns fighting Joe like very early in Joe's WWE run, like early 2017. But I don't remember too much of the Seth Rollins stuff. The thing I remember most about Joe's run was when he feuded with Brock Lesnar.
Yep, everybody, because that was
the
one time
friendship. Probably my favorite segment of 2017.
Well, him versus Brock Lesnar was one of the few times that they used him properly.
Yeah.
So I think most of us remember that. And besides which, it was a really good match. I think Joe being at WrestleMania made sense. You don't want to change up the commentary for WrestleMania. WrestleMania is the climax of the year, not the beginning point. You change up the commentary like they did the Monday after WrestleMania. And Joe, it's just, he was being wasted behind commentary. He was good, but he wasn't any better than anybody else that would have filled that spot. And this is going to free him to do some stuff. And like you said, the whole injury thing, some other companies may have doctors that'll be like, yeah, you can wrestle. We're not that worried about you. WWE gets super, it was like the whole Daniel Bryan thing, where he was thinking about leaving the company because there were other companies that would actually clear him to wrestle. And so WWE kind of had to give him that opportunity to prove that he was okay. And then he did. I feel like if WWE's doctors had not cleared him, he would have quit and he would have ended up probably in AEW.
Yeah, very, very much a possibility.
But they weren't worried about losing Joe because Joe he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that it factor that Daniel Bryan had at the time.
Right. I mean, as great as Joe has been, like he's never been like at that level of popularity, at least with more of a casual audience. I mean, Samoa Joe definitely has his fan base, but Daniel Bryan was like next level as far as the yes chant and everything, just getting over with that younger crowd.
Daniel Bryan made his name and his character in WWE.
Yeah.
Joe made his name in TNA. That's where I remember the best Joe matches was from Aces and Eights era TNA. And for him to come in and be that character, there wasn't really anywhere for him to go. And the audience was either going to catch on or they weren't.
Yeah.
But his main fan base was the people that have seen him before. My biggest worry this week was Aleister Black.
And he apparently is sticking around.
Well, I think the fact that Aleister Black didn't get cut is proof that this was legitimately a business thing. This wasn't vengeance. This wasn't them being mad at people. Because if they were going to be mad at somebody, they would be mad at him because of his wife.
Right.
But he's still there, and they're going to give him an opportunity. And thank God, because Aleister Black, I feel like he could be the next superstar in the same vein as The Undertaker or Bray Wyatt if they only used him properly.
Right.
And the more the more momentum he gets to staying there for a long time, the more likely we'll see Aleister Black post Vince McMahon actually being used properly. So you never know.
Yeah, well said. SSBS fanboy sent in a $5 super chat. Says Bailey has the best naturals. Dana Brooke has the best enhanced ones. Hashtag giggity.
I think Bailey's got the best butt by far. She has got the best butt on the roster. Second would probably be Naomi. But I don't know about the boobs. I don't know about the boobs.
All right, then.
Her boobs are okay.
Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat, and I think Virtue, who's actually in the waiting room, but we're not going to bring him on yet. Psycho Jet Black says everyone in WWE is expendable except for Roman Reigns. What do you think about that, Stefan?
Even Roman Reigns is expendable. They're all expendable. I mean, think about it. Roman Reigns, had to go back for cancer treatment, and they lost him for, what was it, 8 to 10 months? And it wasn't something they planned, but the show kept going. It's like they always say, you're just one cog in a machine, but you're not. None of them are be all end all cogs. You take it out, the machine still runs.
Well, you know what? I think with Roman Reigns, I think if he wasn't around during this later part of the pandemic, I think WWE's numbers on SmackDown would have declined even more. If anything, I think Roman Reigns stopped that decline. And due to the heel turn, if he came back as a baby face, don't know how much of a difference it would have made, but I think him turning heel kept people interested in at least watching SmackDown. And I do think he's somewhat of like the glue that's holding it together, kind of like Bret Hart. When Bret Hart was WWE champion in the mid-90s, yeah, he wasn't huge as far as bringing in casual fans, but I think he kept the core audience invested, and I think Roman Reigns is doing the same thing. And it just goes to show that they need to build up some other guys, and hopefully Roman will eventually be able to drop the title to somebody who can carry the company moving forward whenever Roman decides to go on to acting or whatever entertainment endeavors he has.
Well, when you say building up new guys, I mean, that gets right into the point I was going to make on Roman Reigns. You got to think. Reigns is a home-built talent. They got him in NXT. They brought him to WWE. Even once he was in WWE, he wasn't that good on the mic. He wasn't that great in the ring. But they built him.
Yeah.
And they got him to the point to where he is now. They can do the same thing with other people. It takes time, yes, but it also takes the willingness to do so. Roman Reigns has got a lineage that they could get behind and be like, okay, well, maybe he'll be the next Rock. I don't think he's going to be the next Rock, but he was, one of the next big main event characters. They can keep doing that. They just don't. They hang their hats on guys like Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar and John Cena and these guys that, prove themselves, but they don't give other people an opportunity to do so. Cesaro is a great example. If they just gave him the chance, I believe Cesaro could be a main eventer that people tuned in to see.
Well, he's considered to be the most underrated wrestler in the world on the NoDQ.com poll, and in the year-end awards, he always gets that most underrated. So he's got a lot of supporters, a lot of people behind him. Vince McMahon was on Steve Austin's podcast years ago and just felt like that Cesaro did not make the connection. And at the end of the day, it's Vince's decision. If Vince doesn't see money in you, you're basically screwed. But it seems like everybody but Vince thinks Cesaro could be a major star in WWE.
And the problem with that is that Vince's opinion is flawed. And we know it's flawed based off of science or at least stats. You watch NXT and you watch all of these guys come up to the main event of NXT and they become characters that people love. And granted, it's a small audience, 500,000 to 1 million, but they become big under the proper tutelage, under the proper care. Triple H takes these guys and he turns them into good talent. And then they go to WWE, Vince sees them and he's like, and he ruins them.
Yeah.
Whereas he could put he could put the weight of his confidence behind them and turn them into something that would make him money. He just doesn't.
Yeah, it's true. And Dre says, appreciate the channel. Thank you, Rift and Company. Absolutely. Thank you for tuning in. And Darren G says, I didn't care much for the big dog, but the tribal chief is badass. And I agree on that. And Stefan, I really want to thank you for coming in and speaking your mind about stuff. It's good to talk to you again. We haven't had you on a video for a while. Anything you would like to plug or promote, or any other comments about wrestling you want to vent about?
No, it's just been a weird week. I was like everybody else. I was crazy surprised about the turnout of the Bray Wyatt match at WrestleMania. Yeah. But I've always tried to give it the benefit of the doubt when things like that happen, as you know, storyline. Yeah, maybe it doesn't make a whole lot of sense now, but let's see what they do with it in the coming weeks to make it make sense. And they're just not. I don't know what happened after WrestleMania. They are just ruining things. I don't know why or how, but these storylines that are good are getting terrible, and then ones that made sense are not making sense, and I don't know what they're doing, but I'm really kind of worried about the next few months because they don't usually have a lot of reason to build good shit until SummerSlam.
Yeah, it's going to be a couple of slow months. I mean, really, until we get fans back on a regular basis. It might be a rough late spring, early summer here for WWE fans. I mean, last year was kind of rough during that Performance Center era. It was tough for me to get through.
I think with the Thunderdome, they're managing to figure it out. It's not exactly the same, but you can see the fans. Yeah. And even though you know it's piped in, you know it's canned, you can still kind of get into the boos and the cheers and the chants. I've kind of left behind for the first couple of months of that. I was like, oh, this is WWE trying to push their opinion on me. But over the last few months, it's kind of felt more natural than it did, you know, especially them booing Reigns. Now, I know technically, you know, he's a heel now, so that is the thing that they're pushing. But just to kind of admit that people are booing Reigns and just let it happen and, you know, can it and force it, I'm kind of okay with it. Like it's not the same, but it's not terrible. I don't think it's terrible. I think they're doing okay with what they've got. It's just the storylines and shit. Like they're I don't know. It's like they don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah, very very much so. I mean, I think they're just trying to go with their formula, what they know works, and just stick to that and not really deviate from it too much, you know.
Well, they just have these hard lines that they won't let things cross, like the Hurt Business.
Yeah.
Bobby Lashley was starting to become a babyface naturally because of the Hurt Business, and they wouldn't let him cross that hard line because they had him in the books as a heel. This is how we're going to keep writing him. We don't want to change the storyline, so instead we're just going to break up the Hurt Business so people stop cheering for them.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand some of the decisions that they make because they don't make it based off of natural fan reaction. They base it off of what they want to do.
Right.
And it turns people off, but I'm a lifelong fan, and what can I do? I'm going to continue to watch.
Yeah, you gotta support your team, you know. Even if they're not doing well, you gotta stay loyal to them and
power through. But at the very least, I still have NXT, and NXT so far they haven't done me wrong, so I will continue to watch now on Tuesday nights.
How about that Dexter Lumis Indy Hartwell storyline?
You know what? I wasn't really all that big of a fan of Indy Hartwell until she became a fan of Dexter Lumis, and like
I know now it's getting me interested in her character now. I like it a lot.
And let's talk about not Indy Hartwell. Who's Aaliyah's tag team partner? What's her name? Jessica Maya. Just the simple bringing her in to stand up for Aaliyah and have this little bit of I don't even know what to call it. Like she has this dominant face where she was looking at Mercedes Martinez and challenging her like she's this confidence. this fake confidence that they gave her just for the promo. It was like 10, 15 seconds worth of seeing her in the backstage, but it immediately got me interested in the match. Even though I knew Mercedes Martinez is the bigger character, she's probably going to go over. She had to fight back in the most of the match was Jessie Kamea until the very end. And it got Jessie Kamea over for me. I wasn't even a fan. Now I am. You know, they know what they're doing. Triple H and Shawn Michaels, they know what they're doing. So at least we have NXT.
You know what we need to do? If Mr. Tito will ever don that mask again, he's got his excuse, I got kids, I cannot do this till 10 o'clock. If Tito can agree to a time with you, I'd like to see you guys debate Triple H, because he's not big on Triple H as far as developing talent. And I know you love NXT. And
that's weird.
You would back Triple H.
I am absolutely the opposite of a fan of Triple H when it comes to him as a wrestling character.
Yeah.
Mostly that came from him marrying Stephanie, and at that point he was like the guy that always got pushed, and I'm like, oh, that's not fair. And I never really felt like he deserved it as much as he got, let alone the World Heavyweight Championship. He got handed a World Championship title just because he was Triple H. Like, that sealed the deal when it came to his character. But as far as promoter, as far as running the business, I am a huge fan of Triple H now. And I didn't want to be. I really didn't want to be. But after watching NXT as long as I have, I really enjoy that man for what he does for the business.
Absolutely.
And he doesn't wrestle anymore, so I don't have to hate him. So there you go.
There you go. And Mr. Tito sent in a $2 super chat, says, we need a group no DQ Mario Kart 8 event. I'm all for it. So Tito, make a thread on Twitter. I'll retweet it. We'll get people in, and maybe we'll pick a time sometime, and we'll get everybody to play Mario Kart 8. I'm all for that. And there's a super chat here from Shanti. Day 18 of nonstop no DQ live. Do my eyes fool me? No, they do not. And Stefan, I want to thank you for being on. I'm going to let Virtue jump on here. So anything you would like to plug or promote?
Nothing to promote anymore or plug, but you can go follow me on Twitter at Stefan R. Osborne, or now that I'm not doing the NXT reviews, I will add people on Facebook. If you want to find me on Facebook, I got no problem with that. And I think I have an Instagram. Yeah, I've got Osborne.Stefan. You can follow me there. I really don't do anything, but you can follow me there. I am interested in getting back into doing some wrestling podcasts. It's just, I know you do it, Aaron. Yeah. And you make it seem so easy, but it is not easy to do a podcast by yourself with nobody to bounce ideas off of.
I hear you, man.
So after the split,
some people prefer when I do it solo, but also people like when I do have other people on, and I do enjoy bouncing ideas off of other people and having that interaction. So I do like the mix of it, but it is tough when I'm doing it solo, like I'm talking constantly and I feel like there's no chance to just breathe for a minute and just soak in what's going on. I just got to go. So it can be challenging.
But you also have a lot of followers, so when you have a live chat room, you've got people to bounce ideas off.
They help a lot. The chat
when I go live, it is just me talking into a camera, and I really feel like nobody wants to see that for 30 or 40 minutes. But
it's tough without the interaction, I must say. You know, you definitely got to have the people that are throwing ideas, and they might suggest something or say something that you're not even thinking of, and it could take the direction of the discussion in a whole different direction,
or disagree with you and actually back it up with valid arguments. Those kind of discussions I love. But since the breakup of the NXT team, it doesn't feel right to have a podcast with just me. But if I ever find a new partner, I definitely am going to start up a new podcast. And you can find me on the NXT channel or the NXT team channel. I don't even remember what it was. It's been that long.
Right. All right. Well, the door is always open for you to be on the No DQ review. You know that. And
absolutely.
Maybe we'll have you on again at some point.
Well, if you ever have an empty spot, all you got to do is message me. I'm usually free.
All right. Sounds good. All right. I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to get Virtue on here in a second. Thanks for stopping in for the open mic night.
Thanks for having me, Aaron.
All right. Take care, Stefan.
All right, bye.
Bye. All right, that was Stephen Osborne. Make sure you guys follow him. All right, so now we're going to bring him on. He insisted on not being the first person. He's not going to be the opening act. He's got to be the follow-up. He's got to be the headliner, the showstopper, the main eventer, the boy toy. Let's bring him on, everybody. Your favorite. You've heard him many times on the No DQ review. We got Virtue here. Wait, what's going on here?
Yes. Oh, I'm the rated R superstar. Oh, that's my impersonations of Edge and Daniel Bryan post WrestleMania after getting stacked and pinned 1, 2, 3 by Roman Reigns. I actually went to the chiropractor today, Aaron. Have you ever had them where they realign your neck and it actually cracks? And you told me to wear this for the rest of the weekend.
Does that
I
stuff
feel
actually
fine,
work?
though. I feel like I don't need it.
I watched Penn and Teller, and they told me that the chiropractors are usually full of shit. But
Well, I felt something when he jostled my neck back and forth, and it cracked 100 times. So
we got
anyway,
Mr. Tito here in the chat room, and I told him to get his outfit on, come in here. Let's do impromptu debate, but I think he's a little scared of you.
he needs some time to warm up. I mean, he is going to supposedly take the side of Tony Khan's booking post-February 2020 in a debate against me versus the first 4 months of AEW. I look forward to that. But I don't know. It's going to happen on a weekend day, but he has to decide. A night. It's going to happen at like 10 o'clock at night.
It's got to be 10 o'clock at night because the dude has kids.
He wants Mario Kart to go first, you know?
Yeah, I'm all for it. I told him tweet something out. I'll retweet it. We'll get a group of people together. Psycho Jet Black sent in $2. He says Virtue looks like a skinny version of QT Marshall. You know who that is?
Oh, he called me skinny? Okay. That's
a compliment.
QT Marshall's some guy on AEW, I think.
He has a faction, but then again,
they all do.
like 10 other people. All right, so what's on your mind? Like anything you want to vent about or rage about? This is open mic night.
Raw and SmackDown after Mania sucked.
I agree.
I do like they did the face-off with Cesaro. Okay, it was a tease, so obviously Uso got the match. Heyman did the bait and switch, so I'm okay because we're not, with that, we're not going to see Cesaro versus Reigns yet, and I know Rollins is still in that mix, but just nothing happened. I mean, Charlotte came back on Raw. We knew that was going to happen. They probably could have booked her for Mania or had her show up to do something there if they wanted to. But then I felt they saved her for Raw, and it's like, okay, it's Charlotte. I mean, I don't mind her coming back, but there was just nothing special. What happened to Raw after Mania? Yeah. And SmackDown, even for that matter, because it's on Fox now and Roman Reigns is on that show, where they at least do something to really make people excited, like, hey, it's time to reboot. This whole thing, Aaron, after Mania, they're just continuing stuff, it seems like. I mean, it's WrestleMania Backlash, so this stuff's going to drag on for till the middle of May or whenever that pay-per-view is. So I was very let down by these shows this week.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I was hoping they would have something as far as cliffhangers go or anything just to keep people invested. But as Stefan and I were talking about, I feel like it's going to be a rough couple of months here until we get fans back on a regular basis. But even then, like creatively, they got to step up to the plate and give us something really good here. And what do you want to see next with Reigns? Like, who should be Reigns' next opponent? They teased Cesaro on SmackDown, but it looks like he has unfinished business. So what do you
have a feeling Edge and Bryan were held off of TV to sell the chair shots, whatever, all that stuff that happened at the end of the main event at WrestleMania. So it's probably going to be something involving them. Like I could see Edge versus Bryan having to face each other, and then the winner faces Reigns. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that for the same pay-per-view. Edge and Bryan have a match to open that show, and then in the main event, the winner faces Reigns. And then Reigns can beat him because they'll be tired from wrestling earlier. It's WrestleMania Backlash, Aaron. It's going to be a continuation of most of these feuds. And when is this? Middle of May?
Yeah, it's like May 16th, I think.
And
Like
then maybe after that, like we talked about on the review, Cesaro might come into play, and maybe that's why they did the visual tease. But I don't know. It just feels like they are definitely stretching things out. And that's what they do when there's so much television. 5 hours of main roster television every week. They're going to be like this. And now they're even watering down the shows after Mania.
Yeah. We got the WrestleMania Backlash, which will probably just be rematches of WrestleMania for the most part. Shanti sent in a $5 super chat, and he says, my super chat got lost last night, but you got caught. But did last year's post-WrestleMania have any big surprises on either of the shows? I actually did mention this at the beginning, Shanti. I did not forget about your super chat. And from what I remember, pretty much nothing. I think Bianca Belair debuted and Big Show challenged McIntyre after the match with Lesnar. Do you remember
maybe,
anything?
Aaron, 2 years in a row now they've really done that. We're not at least one exciting thing's happened because they don't have the organic crowd pop.
Yeah.
Last night really bothered me for the first time in the Thunderdome era. Just the fake chanting. When they tried to have Roman sit there and absorb the booze like after the night after he beat Undertaker. Now it's too many people are smart to this. It's starting to come across really cringy. But it's what they're doing. They're trying to, it's probably for 7 or 8 year old kids who don't know any better. They probably even know though.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, maybe not. Maybe they think that it's actually the audio from the Thunderdome, but it would sound really bad. You have to have the piped in chants in order to make it work because everybody's audio would just not sound good. You know how it is with just 4 or 5 of us, how the audio can get very distorted and messed up. So they got to do the artificial crowd noises for the Thunderdome. It's just, I think they've gone overboard with it. Before they would just, have a little bit of booing, a little bit of cheering, but not too over the top. And I thought that was just right. But now they're really trying to have the wrestlers milk the reactions now. And yeah, it's a little too much for me. Caleb Jacobs sent in a $2.85 super chat. Thank you, Caleb. He says, I want Cesaro to be the one to beat Reigns. What do you think about that?
5-6 years ago, okay. At this point in his career, there's no way they're going to do that with Cesaro. Now, the never say never. I'll always never say never because Jinder Mahal became the WWE champion, okay? And they could do a Money in the Bank thing to try to protect Reigns where maybe like Lesnar could come out and beat Reigns up and then someone cashes in on Reigns and wins the title. He can always lose that way. But I don't think if that doesn't happen, Reigns is not losing it unless it's to John Cena breaking the record, Brock Lesnar coming back, and of course the pipe dream of The Rock, which is more of a pipe dream than CM Punk. I think The Rock is more likely at this point to come back and face Reigns than CM Punk is to ever come back to wrestling, although I'm still never going to say never because we know what happens in wrestling.
Yeah, I think Reigns should stay champ until WrestleMania at least, or even at least until we get fans back. He should stay champion until SummerSlam at the earliest. What do you think about him possibly beating CM Punk's record?
I think they should do that. Now, in a perfect world, if you just this Nick Khan guy that's great with working with television companies and selling the WWE product for Vince McMahon and making him more money. If this guy was like such a good, I almost look at him like, and the people that don't know who Nick Khan is, he's somebody that Vince McMahon and WWE has hired to basically run the ship. And so far, he's cashing in. I look at him like, I think of like an agent, like Jerry Maguire, Tom Cruise from the Jerry Maguire movie. If this guy could call CM Punk and say, what do you want? Like, what bridges do we have to repair for you and Vince and Triple H to have one more run? What's your cost? What's your creative control you want? Let's try to work something out. And if Punk ever came back, I think it'd be that Nick Khan that was responsible. Could you imagine Reigns beating that record or coming real close to it?
Yeah.
And then Punk comes back to try to save it against him. I mean, the internet would break, Aaron. You would have to work 24 hours a day.
I would love that. I would definitely be down for that. And I hope they do the story with John Cena trying to to break that record. You know, they
There's
got to do
another
that
one.
at some point.
Yeah. And the head of the table with The Rock. Roman Reigns, like you said on the review this week, has so many great possibilities. Even Brock in the role reversal thing.
Yeah.
Like those are box office matches.
Now, how would you feel if The Rock beat Reigns? Do you think that's the right booking decision?
I wouldn't be surprised, and I would be all right. Any of those big names beating Reigns as a heel, I would be fine with that. I have a feeling, though, I could see The Rock putting Reigns over, and then the guy after The Rock, maybe when it's time to really finally bring a new baby face to the table, use that rub. Reigns beats The Rock, you know, and everybody's shocked, continues to be the champion, and then it's that feud after that where somebody beats Reigns. But who, and that gives them plenty of time to try to figure out who it is. But that would be the best payoff, in my opinion.
Yeah, I just hope they can build somebody to challenge Reigns and perhaps be the next star. But yeah, if not, if they can't think of somebody or they just don't have the desire to do it, then maybe somebody like The Rock could be the guy that could finally shut up Reigns, at least for a short period of time, and
I'd be
Reigns
fine
could
with
always
that.
win it back.
Yeah, that wouldn't bother me at all. I mean, even if Cena broke the record against Reigns beat him in that other match that they had. So maybe they bring Cena back and for WrestleMania, like if the Rock thing can't happen, Cena beats Reigns to break the record, but then Reigns would end up winning it back from Cena. And then Cena breaks his record. Reigns beats him 2-1 in the head-to-head match. You know, that's how they think of things. I'd be fine with that too.
All right, we do have a few super chats here. The one and only Caleb Jacobs said it's the Universal title, not the WWE Championship. Did one of us say the wrong title?
Well, it's the streak of Punk holding the WWE Championship for that many days.
Okay.
Yes, the Universal Championship's a different lineage, but they're trying to make it feel just as important as the WWE because of the brand split. So, yeah, technically it wouldn't break Punk's record, but it would be a main title that would have a lengthier run than Punk's main title did. So you can still look at it that way.
Right. Reigns could say, I've been the longest reigning world champion, and he would not be lying if he said that.
And world champion's your generic term for both WWE and Universal.
And Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat, says, imagine if babyface Baron Corbin feeding Roman. What do you think about that if they turned Corbin face to feud with Roman?
I don't think so. I mean, I like Baron Corbin as a heel. I like the way how some fans don't like him, so it makes me like him even more. But at this stage in the game, Corbin can't be a main eventer. And I say that because everybody knows, you know, Tito will say, oh, you're a Jinder fan. The reason why I liked that at the time is because I knew people were pissed off because it didn't make sense how Jinder the Jobber became WWE champion, okay? Just like that. Well, that's how it would be with Corbin, in my opinion. Corbin loses a lot. So if he became a main eventer and now all of a sudden he can win matches because he's a babyface, I don't know.
Father Adrian sent in a €5 super chat, says, since we have no live fans, Aaron, could Vince not book a heel versus heel match, Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins or Roman Reigns versus Edge? Yeah. Of course they could.
But if they did that, Aaron, there would be an intent to turn somebody babyface. I don't think they would book a heel versus heel match and let them both stay heels. I think they would hope for somebody to turn, and in that instance, maybe it would be time for Rollins to turn.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I definitely think Rollins versus Reigns is another good match that they can do at some point, of course, with their history with the Shield. All right, Virtue, anything else you would like to speak out about Open Mic Night? Anything? Any hot take?
No, I mean, I joined that Mario Kart thing. I do want to get on your Twitch channel at one of these days and start playing video games. I actually have all my new setup, a new computer and everything to stream video gaming seamlessly, but I just have to stop being lazy and get the ball rolling with that. But I am writing a new Virtues Rage very soon, and I I've been doing these minier columns, like smaller columns where they're not maybe quite 1,000 words, easier to compose. I don't have to proofread it as much. Tweet me, people, what you would like me to write about, and I might even get that up this weekend or Monday night at the latest, at NoDQ_Virtue. If you don't, I always come up with a topic. I still have my NXT versus AEW. There never was a Wednesday Night War is up there still for you all to read. the Roman Reigns one, which I hit spot on, as I usually tend to do. But no, nothing else, Aaron, other than I'm looking for a good column topic. So maybe they give me some feedback on Twitter.
And maybe a good debate topic. Your potential debater opponent, Mr. Tito, sent in a $2 super chat. Says Seth needs to rejoin Roman Reigns to rebuild his career. What do you think about that? Them being together instead of against each other.
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't mind it, but not. That was probably before Reigns did this head of the table gimmick. The only people I can see align with Reigns now, this would maybe be if Reigns turned away from this gimmick down the road, which should not happen anytime soon. And they wanted to do like the assembly of a Shield reunion with those two, maybe to stick it to Ambrose. But if anybody joins Reigns, it's got to be Jimmy or have somebody like Naomi.
Yeah, Naomi.
Even Nia, Tamina, like keep it like that. Keep it like the family type. That's just my opinion.
No, I'm with you on that one. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. Since we talked about this privately with Mr. Tito, what he said, any weekend, 10 o'clock or later, I'm going to make it official here. And if he backs out, hey.
Then we'll reschedule.
That's not on us. We'll have to find a replacement. Maybe somebody out there can volunteer as a backup in case he backs out. Or yeah, what I'm proposing is next Sunday, 10 o'clock Eastern, we do the next No DQ debate. So that's a week from tomorrow. What would be the date? 26th, I think, of April. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. I think it's the 26th. Yeah, today's the 17th.
25th of April.
25th of April. Okay, 25th of April, Sunday, 10 o'clock Eastern. No DQ debate. You versus Tito. You game?
Yep.
All right, Tito, the gauntlet.
And that won't even interfere with my when I take getting color with Vito, because we do that at like 7:30.
He's already saying I can't do it.
Wow.
Well, then we get another person, somebody who wants to debate Virtue. We're gonna do a debate next Sunday. I'm making it happen.
And yeah, so if we got to get the debate re-rolling, do a preliminary, because Tito needs to, sit in front of the mirror and powder his nose a little bit longer, that's fine. So I will accept anybody's challenge for next Sunday. Anybody. And you tell me, tweet me or Aaron, let's make sure it's something we disagree on. I don't want to sit there and agree with someone in a debate. So I definitely want to make sure it's something we disagree on. And remember, go ahead.
Let's throw this out here. What is something that you would consider to be a controversial opinion that you think a lot of people disagree with you on?
My stance on AEW in general. I loved it the first few months, and I know Tito and we're going to be talking about Tony Khan's portion of that, but just I've kind of retracted on AEW. I'm not the biggest NXT guy, and I know we do have some fans that enjoy that. Charlotte, I'm pro Charlotte. So if anybody wants to debate me saying, oh, this is going to be bad for Rhea Ripley and all the women, that she's going to get mega pushed and maybe break her dad's record. I'm pro Charlotte. If anybody disagrees with Roman Reigns, I'll always debate on his behalf. So that should be enough, right?
All right, there you have it. Anybody wants to step up to the plate, we'll make a debate happen. Sunday, the 25th of April, 10 o'clock Eastern. Maybe Tito will reconsider and he'll actually step up. He told us.
Well, this is what will happen. We'll schedule something next Sunday with someone else. I'll mop the floor with them. Tito will get there. He'll remember the one we did last October. Then he'll say, all right, this is the day we're doing it. That's what's going to happen. That's how it's going to roll out. That's just my gut feeling.
All right. And Psycho Jet Black with a $5 super chat says Virtue versus Mr. Tito in an Inferno Punjabi prison.
Oh, I'm pro Riddle too. I know a lot of people like Robbie Vice don't like him and don't like the stoner gimmick. I know, but there's still a lot out there that agree with me that love his matches. But that's another maybe small little debate. I'm pro Riddle as well because I think Vince likes him for weird Shawn Michaels type reasons. Not in the ring, but just how – if you have ever read about Shawn Michaels, and he's admitted this, he always pushed Vince's buttons backstage, and he got away with a lot. And I feel Riddle's very outspoken, right? And I'm not saying that he does this to Vince McMahon, but he says what he wants when he wants, how he called out Lesnar, how he called out Goldberg. I think there's a little bit of respect Vince McMahon gives people like that, that's why he tolerated Shawn Michaels for all those years, because he was great in the ring and he respected Shawn saying what was on his mind. So, but anyway, I just gave my debate away.
Tito's saying Saturday, but Rebellion is on Saturday, and there might be some.
Oh, is that the TNA? Yeah, he did want to go against TNA because he said we beat them.
Well, we might, but I'd rather be on call if there's any kind of breaking news, and I'd actually like to watch the match as it's going on. Because of Mauro Ranallo, mostly, interestingly enough, I really did not care about the match, but now that Mauro is going to be there, I'm a little intrigued by what they do. So yeah, that's next Saturday, and we'll get a debate done Sunday. Maybe Tito will be up for a different week. We'll see when we can make something happen. We've been trying for a while and it just hasn't happened. But we're gonna get a debate out one way or another. Virtue, where can everybody find you?
Follow me on Twitter at NoDQ_Virtue, and I do other plugs and stuff. But if you go there, I communicate everything there. So, how many days in a row was this for you, Aaron? 18.
18.
And tomorrow you have nothing.
Nothing. If Tito wanted to do tomorrow night, I'm game.
You want to keep that streak going. But no, it was good to be on here. I'm a little upset. It was just Stefan and I. Was anybody else on from the
I invited everybody in our panel, and
they were burned out from WrestleMania week.
They might have been. I think Colin was working. Otherwise, Colin would have jumped in for sure.
No, anyway, that's all I got.
All right. Well, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you and Stefan coming in. I mean, we got an hour out of this, so it worked out. I would not have wanted to go much longer anyways. Thank you, Virtue, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll get that Mario Kart online game set up soon.
Later, trolls.
All right, later. All right, that was Virtue, and thank you guys so much. This was the 18th night. I wanted to actually get to wrap it up instead of what happened on the SmackDown live stream where my YouTube app just crashed and I got kicked out. I was unable to finish it, and just thank everyone. So again, thank you for all 18 nights. I'm going to take Sunday off. I was thinking, should I just keep it going? But I would just like one night of a break, take a little rest, got a lot of stuff covered, and start fresh on Monday. And it's going to be 5 days a week going forward with the streaming, 5 days a week at minimum. Then we got the pay-per-views, no DQ debate. I'll probably do more of these if we can get some more people on to give their hot takes, open mic night. I'm hopeful we'll be able to keep this going. Maybe do a live no DQ&A where people can come in and send me questions right here on video. But thank you guys again. I really appreciate it. Take care. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest in wrestling news and rumors. And I will see you guys next time.